Should have kept that.
Good.
Hey, we are the Keepers of Nerddom. I am Cody. This is Chris. And today we are actually doing a follow-up of DLCs for Fallout games. And the reason was we realized that just talking about Fallout itself is such a big thing. Like, we could go in each game.
And our last video where we talked about Fallout was pretty long.
It was. And the simple truth is, we didn't even get to the best part, was the DLCs. And we realized we needed
didn't have time. We just love these games.
Yeah, we needed to take more time on the DLCs because the DLCs make many of these games.
Mm-hmm.
We'll focus primarily on the three: Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, because I don't remember if there was really DLCs for the original games because those were back in the day before like downloads were a thing as often.
Yeah.
And then Fallout 76 we're just not even going to include because the DLCs...
Because it's Fallout 76.
Well, here's the funny irony. The DLCs for Fallout 4, because it's a live service kind of game, actually the only things that have fixed the game. Because when it first came out, it didn't even have NPCs. It just had...
Fallout 76.
It had robots and computers.
Yeah.
On Fallout 76. And so their DLC stuff is the only reason that's actually even remotely playable.
Yeah.
And that's sad. So we're just not even going to talk much past that. But... Let's work our way through. Real quick, Chris, because of DLCs, which one is your favorite Fallout game?
I have to stick with Fallout New Vegas.
Why is that? Well, I guess we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So, fair enough. For me, it has to be Fallout 3 because of the DLCs.
The one that we don't have here.
Yes, and like I said in the other video, I loaned it out to a friend just last week to play, and he'd never played the Fallout series. I'm like, start here. And I'm like, he didn't even have all the DLCs, but I'm like, just start here. And the simple truth is the DLCs make these games in many ways, because the DLCs often, if they're a good DLC, they change the game drastically in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have three of the games. Let's talk about Fallout 4, since that's neither one of ours top pick.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout 4's DLCs, they have several really interesting and good ones. I'll be honest, Fallout 4 actually has some really good DLCs.
Yeah. No, it does.
What was the beginning for DLCs for them?
Was Far Harbor the first one? I believe Far Harbor was the first one.
I think it was actually the last one. But I
Was
don't
it?
remember. I thought it was the very last thing.
It definitely wasn't the last one.
Do you have your phone?
Nuka World was the last one.
Oh, that's right. Never mind, you're right. Yeah,
Nuka World.
Pull it up.
And the Vault Building.
Yes. Okay. Good. So it actually only had two big DLCs, like actual normal type DLCs. The Far Harbor and Nuka World. I'm glad you remember Nuka World. That's right. Nuka World was last. And then it had a lot of miniature DLC stuff, because it had the base building expansion thing where you had your own underground base you could build.
Yeah, that came out at the same time as Nuka World, I believe.
Okay. There was also the Automatron DLC, which was a miniature DLC with one little mini quest, and then essentially what it was you could build your own companion.
Okay, so Automatron was the first one.
Automatron was the first?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it looks like they came out.
Was it just the 4 DLCs?
So there was Automatron, there was the Wasteland Workshop, which that wasn't like a big game expansion, that was like more building stuff.
Extra stuff for the building.
And then Far Harbor, then Contraptions Workshop, which was building more stuff again. Vault Tech Workshop.
That was the underground one.
Yeah, and then Nuka World.
Okay, so in essence, Fallout 4 only had 2 big actual regular type DLCs.
But Automatron was a ton of fun too.
Well, and that's my point, is ironically, they only had 2 big DLCs, but Automatron was the best of all of it, even though it wasn't one of the big DLCs.
Mm-hmm.
It was really just an add-on pack that expanded some part of the game.
Yeah, it allowed you to have robots, customizable robots as companions.
Because you could have robots before that as companions, but now
they were the pre-made robots.
Here is I think it was Ada or something that you could have, and then you could customize her, or you could just build your own robot from scratch.
Yeah, and then it took you on a story of these robots, like fighting back and stuff like that you had to go stop, and then
so good. And like, that's the sad thing, like that was the most interesting of all their DLCs in some ways, and not to say that the others were bad, because Nuka World is massive.
Yeah, it's huge
and it's fun, but honestly it's not
big enough. I don't even know if I ever finished that one.
Really?
Yeah,
I think I finished it, but I wasn't really impressed with it because you're still just fighting raiders.
Yeah,
you're in Nuka World, But it's just raiders. It's nothing special.
But so fun fact about the Automatron one, the like last guy that you beat at the end, that's like the master of the robots and everything.
Yes.
So how in the normal game, when you're in,
It's not Little Lamplight, I don't think.
no, it's the place that's ran by that ghoul.
Yes.
And you run around as like the Silver Shadow or something like that.
You can find the stuff. There's a mini quest to go find the equipment for the Silver Shroud,
The Silver Shroud.
which was an old time before the war
Comic book
superhero
character.
comic book character on the radio as well.
And so the guy in Automatron is a bad guy from that comic book series.
Yeah.
And if you fight him, or if you meet up with him at the end while you're wearing that costume, you have comic banter back and forth.
You have unique dialogue because of it, and
Yeah.
apparently that's probably one of the best things about the game.
I
is
thought it was
the Silver
super
Shroud
cool.
stuff
Yeah.
is the different dialogue that can happen sometimes
Yeah.
is dressed up as that. So that's the sad irony is the Automatron DLC, even though it's really not a true full blown, is one of the best things because it had so many fun things you could do. Like
Yeah.
just the fact that you could create your own the super military robots with the 3 legs.
The Sentry Bots.
Yes, you could make one of those with
Yeah.
a freaking missile launcher, like murder everything.
But
Or the
I
new
think-
death robots that they had with the laser eye from Fallout 4. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Those things were crazy.
I don't remember what they're
And I
called,
think
but don't
even
know
from
what
that
you're talking
DLC, that's where you got a head of one.
about. Yes.
It would cause radiation to you, but
And you could use it as a gun.
it's ridiculous.
But real quick, back to the Silver Shroud thing. I just always thought it was funny that this guy's on this mission to like, someone stole my son. I need to get my son. I'm gonna cosplay real quick and banter with this guy.
It's awesome. And I think it was Fallout 4 that had the was it Fallout 4 with the Mechanist? And the Ant-Agonizer?
I don't remember.
I can't remember if it was Fallout 4 or Fallout 3.
I don't remember.
But regardless, those are really fun, by the way. So yeah, Far Harbor. Again, it was a really good DLC,
Mhm.
but not different enough that it stood out to me. I don't know about you.
I like the special power armors you could get.
Yes. Well, and that's one thing about Fallout 4, by the way, and we didn't mention in the other video, just the customization on like power armor was so much fun. But power armor in that game sucked in many ways because you didn't want to ever use it because it cost fusion cores.
Nope, I used it constantly.
Did you?
Yeah, I used it constantly. I found tons of fusion cores.
So you just went.
Yeah.
See, I always was like, oh, but if I run out, then I've got my power armor. Just have to leave it out here, and I don't want to do that. Even though,
And I would buy fusion cores every time I saw them.
and I think some of that was because of the difficulty I was on. Then everything had weight, so the fusion cores.
Yeah, I was playing on normal
took
mode,
up
and
tons.
even on just normal mode, like I was constantly using power armor.
Right. So that would make a difference.
But my build was also around it.
You're right. Yeah. Far Harbor, I like Dima. He's really interesting, the synth that you meet in that. But it really is, it's the Automatron DLC, and honestly the little miniature DLC of doing your own little Fallout shelter under the ground.
I never did anything with that. I didn't even start it.
Well, it came out really late, I think, didn't it? At the end of the run on the DLCs?
It came out in June. Or no, it came out in July, whereas Nuka World came out in August.
Okay, so it was towards the end of their DLCs, and it was really fun. But if you'd already done some base building, then you didn't care much.
Yeah.
But it was kind of entertaining because you could also perform experiments on people that you got to live in your vault. And so, like, you could have
Okay.
them on exercise bikes to power the thing, and you could tell them that they have to stay on there forever.
Oh.
It was really weird. But it was a fun little thing. But really, the Automatron DLC, I think we're both on the same page there. It's just so small,
It's
but
just
it's
a little
so
quirky,
good.
fun thing. I loved it.
Just the fact that you could build your own robot, that alone was a win.
Yeah.
Because robots in many ways are some of the most interesting parts of Fallout. I mean, when you just have them as the only thing in Fallout 76, you're going to have problems because
Yeah.
that's lame. But robots, I mean, let's be honest, Fallout 4, Codsworth, is that his name?
Yeah.
Your servant bot? Like, you just love him. And you can put little top hats on him, I think.
And depending on what you name yourself, he'll refer to you as your name
Yeah.
instead of just
That's
sir.
a nice little detail.
Yeah, that was super
so,
cool.
Anyway, can you pull up the DLCs then for, I guess we just work our way backwards because New Vegas, that's your favorite one. And I will say it had some really good DLCs and it had some really meh DLCs. And actually, they're all listed right here. So never mind. We've got them. We've got them written on our cheat sheet right here. So Dead Money. Dead Money. What was Dead Money?
Dead Money was the one where you're stuck in the casino that you hated.
Okay, perfect place to start.
Yeah.
Dead Money, especially on higher difficulties, is the worst DLC of all time ever on anything. Period. Tell us about Dead Money.
So Dead Money, you get stuck in this like hotel casino that was meant to open but never ended up opening. There are ghosts that are holograms but have the consciousness of people who were there.
Yes.
They don't like that's about the best description that they give in it.
And then there's the beings that somehow can survive out in the mist stuff.
Yeah.
And they're crazy tough.
Ghouls or something like that.
Yeah. You lose all your items as you come in, and you have very basic stuff that they give you.
Mm-hmm. There's 3 different people that you have to save.
Yep.
Well, there's
and you have a bomb
super mutant
collar.
and 2 people.
And you have a bomb collar on your neck.
So if you go in certain places, there's this gas mist that will kill you, that you'll start dying and losing health if you're in it. And then there's other places that have these like speakers that'll make your bomb collar start beeping, and if you stay there too long, it'll explode. And
so on the hardest difficulty, which I played it on, that DLC becomes torture. Because you can't just run away from things because you might accidentally run into a thing that's going to make your bomb collar explode. You may accidentally then run into the gas that's going to kill you in 3 seconds. Just terrible. It was just not fun. Because it changed the gameplay so drastically that, in a bad way, you couldn't appreciate it. And that was sad. That one, I think you'd even warned me about that one.
I did.
And
because that was so my last playthrough on Fallout New Vegas. I've played through it several times, but my last playthrough, I was playing on PC, so I put in console commands. I just wanted to run gun and have fun, so I put in console commands, maxed out all my stats, gave myself a ton of money, gave myself a ton of ammo, and basically just gave myself whatever I wanted just to run through. And that part of the game was pretty difficult with that.
Yeah, and that one throws you for a loop. I was not a fan of that DLC. That one, honestly, that probably in some ways lowered my appreciation of New Vegas in many ways, just because I don't know what the crap they were thinking with that DLC. And the rest of the DLCs are not like that at all. And that one is just, they wanted something different. And I'm okay at times when they take away your stuff, but it still frustrates me a little bit.
I think that the other ones made more sense because in the other ones, they didn't take away your stuff, but they told you you're only allowed to carry this many pounds of things.
Well, I'll explain to you for the pit. Actually, they do that in Fallout 3.
Okay.
They take your stuff. And at first, I started running and gunning into that DLC. It's like, you ain't taking my stuff. I'm going to kill you all. And so I got to the next layer, and they're like, oh, you killed our guys? No. And they just start beating you, and you black out. And then all your stuff's gone.
Well, but I'm saying in New Vegas,
Vegas,
like all the other DLCs, there's just weight limits.
Right. And so, okay, so the next one is Honest Hearts. Is that the Indian?
Yeah, it's the Native American one.
The Native American area where it's actually one of the prettiest places in New Vegas.
Yeah.
Because
so
there's color.
You go to Utah, you're in Zion National Park.
Yeah, and it's not been like nuked to high heaven. And so it's really pretty. Honestly, I enjoyed that DLC. From what I saw online, people didn't really enjoy it, but I found that
I liked it a lot.
What's the main guy with the bandages? That's really fascinating.
I'm looking it up right now.
I know we got info.
He was referred to as the Burn Man. He's Joshua Graham.
Yeah, I enjoyed him, and then the moral decisions you had to make of whether or not you're going to save this tribe or that, or how.
Yeah, and then depending how you, what you decide to do at the end, it explains like the tribes lived in peace. Or this tribe killed that tribe, or this tribe took this tribe into slavery.
Right. And it's a good DLC. Fun. And
Joshua, like through the whole thing, keeps on quoting the Bible at you.
Yeah. It was one of those DLCs that I'm like, I'm not going to remember very well, but the color helps. The experience was unique. The Native American concept was really cool because it was different. Just a good DLC. Nothing like crazy game changing, but yet good. And that was neat. And some of the guns you got from that they were fun. So what are you looking up? I'm intrigued. So that one had some great stuff in it. Yeah. I'm gonna skip one of them because the next one was for me it was Lonesome Road. Actually, I think old
Lonesome Road is the one that I did not play.
Honest Hearts
I
I
have not
think
played
were
yet.
better than Lonesome Road. Lonesome Road, you find out you're not really just a carrier, and that's the only piece that I didn't like because it's actually like you're a super carrier because you're courier because you actually had all this impact on all these other things. You're like, no, don't do that. Like just being a courier, like just
Yeah.
simple and plain was good. But the fights in it were good. The area that you explore is interesting. You get to upgrade Eddie, EDE or whatever, the little iBot, and he's ridiculous. Some of the weapons you get are good. It was a neat little DLC, but challenging on some of the hardest level mode that place was.
What I was looking up was going back to Honest Hearts.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought the funniest was, so anytime I play that game, I take the Wild Wasteland perk, and at one point when you get to one of the tribes, a guy runs out of the cave, and his name is Two Bears High Fiving.
Yes.
If you have that perk,
it's awesome. Yeah, the Lonesome Road was interesting. It just frustrated me that they changed the couriers aspect. The last other 2 DLCs besides the one Gunrunner's Arsenal and the Courier Stash, they're more just like
Courier
miniature
Stash
DLCs.
gave you items. The Gunrunner's Arsenal gave more upgradability to items.
Yeah.
Because like it made it to where you could put a silencer on the antimatter rifle or a special receivers that you can shoot heavier ammo.
Right. So Gunrunner's Arsenal, useful. You just don't even notice that it's there in some ways because it's a background kind of DLC.
Yeah,
That's
the
cool.
only time you notice it is when you go into shops or look at items and it'll say GRA afterwards, and that just means that it's a special thing that can only go on certain weapons.
And that's good. And so it's a neat DLC, and it's actually really helpful. The Courier Stash, I think, is kind of a pointless DLC, but it just gives you better stuff to start the game. So on the hardest difficulty, that was helpful. So I will say that was beneficial. But my top one, and I don't know, what's your top one of the DLCs for New Vegas? If you picked.
Probably Honest Hearts.
Honest Hearts. Okay, so my number one would have been, and you recommended this. He's like, you told me like I'm pretty sure this is the one you're gonna love.
Oh, I knew you were gonna love.
Yeah, and it was Old World Blues, and I was like,
which I really love that one too.
And wow, holy crap, that DLC!
But like it's already like a sci-fi-ish game.
It is,
and that's like just the sci-fi of the sci-fi.
It did, and it's so weird because you wake up in the DLC and you don't have a brain. But somehow you're still able to interact and move, which is really weird. Like they never do a great job of explaining it, and you just kind of go along with it because
you don't have a brain, you don't have a spine,
or a heart or lungs or something.
Yes.
Like it's crazy, and it doesn't explain it well, but you just don't care because it's just out there, and you end up doing quests for these people that have been living since
before the
war, and they're a little crazy and stupid, and it's awesome.
They're all just brains and robots.
Yeah. The one that got me though was at first I thought I was fighting skeletons in spacesuits, and I realized after finding some of the computer journal entries,
you're fighting the suit itself.
You're fighting the suit itself,
and the body inside the suit is dead.
Yeah, there's nothing left. I'm like, this is insanity.
Yeah.
Like this is awesome, and I love it. And so essentially, these people were stuck in these suits, and they couldn't get out, and they just had to do whatever the suit had them. And there's rad scorpions like crazy in there, and also the robot scorpions that the main bad guy in the DLC has created.
I hate the robot scorpions.
They were tough.
They were tough on me when I had all my stats maxed.
Right.
I can't imagine what it was like for you.
It was terrible. It was terrible. Still not as bad as Cazador's, but terrible. But like the weapons you got in there, I can't even remember what I got, but they were crazy. I'm drawing a blank right now, but they were crazy.
Yeah, so there was
like Gauss rifles or something.
There was also the pulse gun that shot like different frequencies that would do different things around. And
then the Sniffer 2000 whatever, which had a dog brain in it. Like the guns in that DLC were awesome and random and goofy, and
then there was the stealth armor that was sentient.
Yes.
I did not like that armor. I absolutely hated that armor.
I don't remember what I would use.
It would use stim packs on you without asking you to use stim packs.
Right.
And it wouldn't wait for you to get to like low health. If you lost like a quarter of your health, then it would just immediately drop a stim pack. So if you were in a fight, it would just be constant. Like you would just constantly see notifications down the bottom.
You'd have to be really careful.
Yeah. So I just didn't use the armor. Like it was great for stealth, but I wouldn't wear it because it would take down my stim packs instantly.
Right.
I mean, I would.
I think it was a railgun they also had in that thing. There was something.
You're right.
There was something crazy. Like the guns in that thing and the different things you could find were just hilariously interesting. But I get you on that. The smart armor was weird, but the testing you would go through to upgrade the armor and get it fully unlocked was really fun.
Yeah, that was.
I like just everything about that DLC was fascinatingly bizarre and weird. It was like being in a superhero show. Because you're fighting this big super villain and then realizing that's not actually the case.
Yeah.
But man, that DLC. So why does Honest Hearts beat that one out for you? So that's interesting.
I just like the story, the moral decisions. I really like Joshua.
Yeah.
And how they make him out to be he's going to be this real bad guy, then he's this real good guy, and then it's like he's this moral guy who's stuck in the middle of what he thinks he should morally do and what he wants to do for revenge.
Yep. The moral decisions really do put Honest Hearts on a different playing field of DLC. Because there's, like, you make some decisions in the Old World Blues, but it's more about just killing everything. Yeah. And just having fun.
It was meant to be goofy.
It was.
I mean, they have a robot lady that tries to come on to you constantly.
Oh, yeah. What was that? Was it
it was one of the brains.
Oh, yeah. Okay, because once you get back into your room, like, you can make everything have voices and stuff, and even the toaster will talk to you.
Well, the toaster wants to kill everything.
Yeah, and it makes guns for you somehow. Or a power fist or something. It's
I think you're right, yeah.
But, just, yeah, like... New Vegas had some great DLCs, and then it has, I think, one of the worst DLCs ever in the casino one.
Yeah,
it's terrible. All right,
Hotel Madre.
Yes,
or something like that.
I don't know, and I don't care because it hurt. It hurt so bad. So, Fallout 3.
So that one's your favorite. I played a little bit of Mothership Zeta. Other than that, I didn't play a whole lot of.
But you haven't finished
DLCs.
Mothership Zeta.
No, I have not. Because when I played that was back before I was making my own money, right. And I didn't have access to buy that.
So you haven't played most of Fallout 3's DLCs?
No.
Okay, so let's walk through these because I would say...
Now, I've watched gameplay of them, but I've not played them.
I would say Fallout 3's DLCs make Fallout 3 better, even than New Vegas in many ways. And I don't say that to be light or to say it's totally going to change your appreciation of New Vegas, because I think you're probably going to always have that as your favorite. But
I think it will. It
truly changed the game of Fallout 3. The first one, I think, was Broken Steel, or was one of the earliest, where it added 10 more levels, and once you got done with the main story, you could actually continue the game.
Which was my biggest complaint about the game in the first place.
And that DLC, it's almost not just a DLC, it's a staple to the game. Because then you get 10 more levels, and you get to continue, and you get to fight against the Enclave.
Okay.
And you actually get a power core finally for Liberty Prime. And you get to watch as he throws nukes at people. And it's just awesome. And it's not the most amazing, but the simple fact it is the most amazing because those extra 10 levels and let you continue the storyline. That's important. Definitely not my top of them, but it's good because of what it does. And then just seeing Liberty Prime and constantly yelling "Die commies" and stuff like that, like just stupid things. It's just ridiculous. I think the lowest of all that a lot of people really enjoy, and I don't know why, is the Pit. You essentially become
which is one I'm not familiar at all.
Right, and there's two of them that I just started playing recently this year because I didn't find them very interesting in their descriptions. But it's like I finally found them on sale for like $1 or $2, and I've been playing them. I played the Pit just a few weeks ago, and you become a slave, and you're going to either free the slaves or become like their master essentially. And there's some other stuff in there too, but the items you can get are kind of interesting. The area that you can explore for some crafting stuff is kind of fun, but it's dreary, it's bleak, just like Fallout 3, it doesn't change a whole lot other than you're a slave, and they do take away all your stuff. And that's not terrible, but at the same time, it's like, I've worked for all this, but you're a slave.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It makes sense. But it's just one of those things it was short. I wasn't really that impressed with it. Not bad, but not good. The next one, and it's only because these other two are so different and interesting that this is behind them, but honestly, this made me appreciate a DLC in Fallout 4 less, was Point Lookout. And I'm playing through that right now. And you essentially go to, it almost feels like an island, but I think it's just off the coast of Maine, and it's a swampy area or something like that. I'm not sure if it's Maine or not, actually. I'm going to have to go look. But, yeah, look it up. You just go and explore this area that is full of rednecks that are mutated, and ghouls as well, but also tribesmen and smugglers and things like that. And it's just weird and interesting. And at first I wasn't really like that interested in it, and then I got hooked in some of the little story quests, because there's two so far that I've experienced that are really good, and I haven't even done the main one yet. I'm working towards it. I ended up doing this Black Hall Manor quest to find this weird book for him, and come to find out it's like a cultish book thing that you can either give to him for his cultic purposes or destroy it. And I ended up destroying it. It actually took me back to the main game area, which I was shocked. Where is it actually?
So it's supposed to be Point Lookout State Park, which is in Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. So
over at Chesapeake Bay.
That's cool.
By the Potomac River.
It's a really neat area, but that quest where it actually took me back out to the main Fallout 3 area to finish the quest was really cool. I was shocked by that,
because that's something you never see, especially in Fallout games.
Very weird.
Like the DLC areas are always like separate areas that you have to travel to.
There's usually like maybe some mild interaction inside the main game after you install the DLC because of it.
Yeah, people might mention something that happened in it.
Yeah, but this, I was like, no, I had to go back out to complete a quest and go through an entire dungeon area. And it was insane. And it was really good. And then the other thing I've run into was I found a body of a Chinese spy from before the war in a hotel, and had to go do figure out what happened to him, and then destroy the Chinese sub and get betrayed from before the war. It was just really fun. Like the fact that there's hillbillies running around and they're making moonshine and they're doing weird stuff, and it's on the hardest difficulty, they're insanely tough. Like it's intense, and it was so far it's been really good. I'm gonna keep playing it. I've enjoyed it, but I think the other two for me, they changed the game in a drastic way, in a good way. The next one is Operation Anchorage, and I highly recommend this one. And most people apparently online review this not very highly, but you have to take it for what it is, especially once you play it as the hardest difficulty. That you go find it's
like a training simulator, isn't it, or something like that?
Well, you find an offshoot of the Brotherhood of Steel, and they've got a training simulator down in a basement that if they can beat it, they can get access to whatever's in the vault hidden of treasures. Not like vault for people, but like just sealed away vault of items. And so you go in and you end up actually reliving the retaking of Anchorage, Alaska by the U.S. and something like that. I think it is retaking. And the game mechanics are different. You don't have the same stuff. Like you go and find health dispensers and ammo containers that are always spread around, and just really fun. You get to see part of the war and live it. And then once you get done with that, you actually get some of the best power armor in the game that just doesn't break. It's not necessarily like it's stat wise is the best, but it doesn't degrade in the same way. It has like 1 million hit points, so it just doesn't have that same problem. And so that's
like the insulated power armor or something like
that. It's the T51B winterized power armor, I do believe, to be specific. I run it all the time because it's just that useful. But you also get like the main Chinese guy's shock sword from the thing, and the Gauss rifles and stuff like that. Just really cool stuff. And just you're in Alaska, and so it's snowy and it's different. Like the environment's different, and you get to have companions at a point in it where you get to customize who's on your team. Just completely different. And so it's really cool. and you just get to experience a different thing, and it changes your gameplay of Fallout 3 after that as well with the winterized armor, because you don't have to worry about degradation of your suit anymore.
Yeah.
So that's nice. It's a good reward, and so the simulation stuff is fun. But I think it pales in comparison to my top DLC, and I would highly recommend finishing it, is Mothership Zeta. Mothership Zeta it's a continuation of this running gag of always finding a broken alien spaceship with an alien dead to it with an alien blaster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once you install it, you actually get abducted by those aliens. And very quickly you escape into the ship, and you start meeting people, and you actually free some from cryogenic storage that have been, like, one of them is a samurai from 300 or 400, no, it hadn't been 500 years or more at that point in the game, because you're 200 years in the future, in the past, you're talking about samurai from feudal Japan, and a cowboy, and an astronaut, and things like that. Astronaut, maybe he dies, I don't remember. But it's really weird and interesting, and you go rampaging through this alien spaceship, but the aliens are from 1950s. They're very goofy with the big gray heads, and you get to actually get all of their weaponry and items, and their weapons are awesome. And they're this 1950s stylized stuff, and the end of the level, the thing actually kind of ends with you getting to fight another mothership. And that's awesome. Like, it's just a fascinating thing. In some ways, the DLC fails at the end just of not, like, having a great resolution. But the simple truth is, the amount of things you get from that and the weird things you get to do because of it are awesome, and it's worth it. And it has one of the best heavy weapons in the game, because it has ammo that doesn't cost an arm and a leg to use. And it's faster to reload than most heavy weapons as well. So just everything about it is just goofy. And my favorite thing about that actually is, if you're paying attention, you can find audio logs throughout the ship of them interrogating or abducting people. And then those conversations. And you can't understand the aliens, but you can hear the people throughout the years.
Oh, okay.
And it just gives you this interesting story of, like, these aliens, what are they doing? Like, why? What's the purpose? And don't know. But yet it's so odd. And the weapons are neat. The story is kind of fascinating, even though the story is really simple. You're just trying to escape this ship. But there's a point where, like, if you like human weapons, you find a room where they've apparently been abducting tons of stuff. Okay. And it's just shelves full of human items. And so, you loot all them 10 mil guns you want, and the sniper rifles and anything else you want. It's just fun, because it's like old world blues. It's
super sci-fi.
Yeah, it's just meant to go off the rails and give you something different on purpose, and it succeeds in that. It's
just trying to take tropes to the extreme.
Yeah. And it did with the 1950s aliens. By showing a 1950s alien instead of something else, it made you appreciate the Fallout universe even more. Yeah. Because then when you get back to normal Fallout, everything's different again. It completely changed, not necessarily how you play the game, but the aesthetic. And I think that's important, is when the aesthetic changes in a good way, that matters. And so the alien ship is just crazy awesome. It helps you appreciate a very different Fallout. Yeah. So those two, Operation Anchorage and Mothership Zeta, are definitely my top two, although Old World Blues is right in there with them. Because it's just pure, I don't know. So I was glad you recommended that. Yeah, anyway, sorry, I've been talking on that one for a bit. So, Fallout DLCs. Thoughts?
Love them.
Yep. What's your definite worst of all?
All right, now.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, maybe the Dead Money.
Okay. I think that's fine.
But I didn't think it was as bad as you thought it was.
Really? Yeah, it's probably because of my difficulty
Yeah.
slider that it just that hit me hard. That one, yuck. And you said your favorite was Honest Hearts.
I like Honest Hearts a lot.
Just in general, that's good. You know, and I think that's the funny thing is depending on what kind of person you are and what you like. You know, if you liked Wild West or versus sci-fi or you know, fill in the blank, like people that like hillbillies and random stuff like The Hills Have Eyes kind of thing would probably love Point Lookout way above anything else. And I'll say this, the storylines in it so far have been really interesting. So it's fascinating to see the just how the games can give you great DLCs and sometimes some really rough ones. And some of the best ones are the ones that are happening behind the scenes that you just don't even pay attention to.
Yeah.
And, you know, those can be really good because New Vegas has 2 of those that are just kind of behind the scenes.
That just give more options for the game.
Yeah, and that's good. But you're not going to always go, man, that is my favorite. Because you're not doing anything necessarily different right on the surface that you realize.
Yeah, I think that the Gunrunners Arsenal might have had like a couple quests for the Gunrunners.
There may be. But really, it's just that all of a sudden the shopkeepers have these more interesting weapons that cost an arm and a leg.
And they have more money to trade with.
Bonkers. Right, and that's big. So it's stuff like that, you know, you won't notice right away.
Yeah.
And especially like Fallout 4, if you build any of the settlements, you may not even realize how many more options you have because of the settlement additions.
Yeah, I know I wouldn't notice.
Yeah. And it just one of those things because I don't know that they're marked as a DLC item. They're just there.
Yeah.
So once you have it installed, I will say for DLC as an honorable mention to mods for Fallout 4 especially because since they have just allowed it even on console, you could just have things.
I never actually did anything with mods.
I will say there was a point where I was running around in armored Batman armor just cause. And it was awesome. But then I installed actual mods that like gave different, more modern like M16 type weapons. And they still were customizable and stuff. And they weren't like broken strong or anything, but it just made options, which was fun. And so that's a neat thing that Fallout 4 has that, I mean, on PC, I know you can mod the heck out of just about anything. But console was the first time that we saw that on Fallout 4. So what is your favorite DLC of the 3 Fallout games and why? You know, what was it that drew you to that? You know, we've shared some of our stuff, what got us in there. You know, I hope at some point you play the DLCs for Fallout 3 because some of them are
at some point.
Really interesting. And Operation Anchorage will just mess your brain up because it's just so different, cool, and fun to snipe people and assassinate people for the war effort. You know, this is crazy. And then the Chinese people are scary as all get out sometimes because they're invisible sometimes too because they have the stealth suits.
Yeah.
And that's scary as all get out. When you're like, why am I getting hit? What's going on? And you turn around, there's something swinging at you, but you can't see it. You're like, ah! Actually, I had that moment last night with a what was it? I think it was a hillbilly that somehow got around behind me and was chopping my face off. I turned around, it's terrifying. But we have been the Keepers of Nerddom, and we want to hear from you in the comments. What is your favorite DLC and why? You know, what is it that stands out to you? And what's the thing that really gets you excited and wants you to go? Maybe this has gotten you excited to go back and play some of these games. We'd love to hear from you. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.